one likes to be public speakers, but I thought a little bit about what I would say, and you start reflecting and you have all these thoughts in your head about this type of event, and I really started thinking a lot about how this was from Joe's perspective, because I've been living with my wife and 3 daughters for so long, I kind of forget what it's like to have other guys around. And I remember when Sherry and I got married, or all of you know, you always wonder if you're good enough for the girl you're marrying, and all of us dads who have daughters think there's no guy out there good enough for our daughter. So I got to thinking this is probably something that Joe may have never thought would happen. And 3.5 years ago when these two met, if you'd have asked me at the time, I'd have thought this is not going to work out. And you talked about that a little bit in the service, and it was kind of ironic because I was kind of thinking about that same thing myself. 3.5 years ago, which has flown by, as you guys know, Jessie was out on New Year's Eve, and she hadn't had a boyfriend for a long time, and she was just out with her friends, and she was partying on New Year's Eve, and the story goes that she somehow fell at a bar. And I don't know what Jessie would have been doing at a bar that would have made her fall, but some guy offered her a hand and picked her up. And apparently they hit it off, and things went well, and they had things in common, and Jessie was telling Sherry, hey, I met this guy, he's real nice, and I guess they decided she wanted to see him again and all that, so that's fine. Sherry and I have always, with having daughters, have had lots of boyfriends come over, and we've always welcomed their boyfriends, so we were fine with that, or new guys or whatever. We didn't have a problem with that. And as it turns out, Carrie, who's here with us today, where's Carrie?
Right here.
I believe the story goes that Carrie told Jessie, oh, by the way, that guy you met's going to be a dad in April. So Jessie meets a guy in a bar, and we find out he's going to be a dad in April. So as you can imagine, as parents, I'm the open-minded one. I was okay with it. Sherry is the one that was all upset. I calmed her down. Made her, it was okay with me, but I had to settle her down. But as the relationship progressed, again, we didn't have any problem with it. Jessie's actually, as much as she is a spaz, she also is very practical, so we've always trusted her, and we always knew she was old enough to make her own decisions, and if this was going to be a relationship that progressed, again, it was up to her, and we trusted her decision. So things went along, but again, in the back of our minds, we're thinking, you know, with Joe having his child on the way and all these issues that we all know I know, you get it? You get it. But we all know it's tough enough to have a relationship without those types of things, making it all the more complicated. But the funny thing happened is Jess and Joe stayed together, and we got to meet Joe. We learned that if anybody knows Joe, you realize as soon as you meet him, you can't help but fall in love with Joe, because Joe's the nicest, sweetest, funnest guy I've ever met. And then, not long after that, of course, Landon came along. And I'm sure, again, looking at it from Joe's perspective, he's thinking, as he said out there, there's no way your parents are going to be happy with this. You're dating this guy, and Joe said he's driving this POS car. He's a pizza boy. He's in college, and he's a dad. So it's the perfect scenario as a father. But a funny thing happens when a baby comes into your life. Jessie fell in love with Landon, couldn't love him anymore as if it were her own, and the same thing happened to Sherry and I. And looking back now, we look at Landon as if it was our grandchild. And the thing that the thing that Joe didn't realize is that we knew when Landon came along, the most important thing in Joe's life was to be the best father he could possibly be. And that's the type of thing you look for when you're looking for a son-in-law. Yeah. And even before they got engaged, we knew that Joe was going to be a good dad. He was struggling going to school, and again, he thought he wasn't good enough for Jessie to take care of her, but he didn't realize that when we started out, we didn't have anything either. We drove POS cars and did all the same things you did. We didn't start off doing well. Now, Jessie is a little bit of a princess, as you know. So Jessie had a little harder time, or easier time than Joe did. So, and again, I think Joe looked at that thinking, I'm not worthy. But I'm standing here today, and I want everyone to know that as far as Sherry and I are concerned, Joe, we couldn't have picked someone to marry our daughter that we could be more happy with. So, and we're not only gaining a son, we've gained a grandson. So again, thank you for that. And I'm thrilled because I've been with Sherry and 3 daughters for 25 years, and I'm glad there's boys and men in my house again. So thank you for that. And Jessie, all I'll say is, you know I love you. And Joe, she's all yours.